Hey guys, Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films back again with Doctor Who Classic. Last time around we finished up The Claws of Axos. What was that one about?
Well, there were no claws.
There were. They were just under the ground.
A reference to it. But anyway, it's some aliens come down and they say that they've crashed and they need fuel, but it turns out that they're releasing some kind of deadly thing that's going to literally suck up all the people on Earth somehow. But they come in these in the forms of they appear to the humans as almost like Greek gods with golden hair and all that sort of thing. But anyway, they ultimately find out that they're trying to basically steal all the energy off of Earth and are defeated. I don't remember exactly how.
Because the Doctor puts them into a time loop.
That's right.
Because the TARDIS has been fixed up by the Master just enough to where the Doctor was able to put them into a time loop. However, at the end, the Doctor realizes that the TARDIS is programmed to always return to Earth.
That's right.
So,
what he called himself, a galactic yo-yo or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. So, today we are moving on to Colony in Space. This is a 6-part episode, so we'll be doing the first 3 here and the next 3 next week. But yeah, Colony in Space. That sounds like, well, space travel. So
it also sounds like another, base under siege, which we had enough of back during the second Doctor.
That's true. So,
it's not that.
I mean, it would at least be something different for the third Doctor. Yeah. So we've had a lot of, staying on Earth recently, and a decent amount of episodes where we're on Earth with the Master. So who knows? Maybe we'll probably get the Master in some form in this episode. He seems to just be the recurring thing for
talk about
this
a galactic
season.
yo-yo.
Yeah, so he'll probably be back, but we'll have to see to what extent he is back in this one.
It also makes you wonder, since everything is has been set on Earth, is this going to be one of those Planet of the Apes things where they go somewhere only to realize that this was Earth?
Maybe I could see that happening. So, yeah, I don't know. We got anything else?
No, actually, it's just ready to, plow ahead.
Yeah, it feels like a very short intro. We normally talk for like 8 minutes about nothing, and then we start.
Well, again, Claws of Axos, I mean, it was decent. It just, it was nothing special.
Yeah.
Some good visuals. I thought the Greek gods were kind of interesting. But again, it's just not one of the most memorable episodes ever.
Yeah.
We've had some good writing, and that was decent. It was good. It just wasn't, it was no War Games. It was no,
Yeah. Well, I mean, hard to top the War Games or get back to that level, know? So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. So let's just go ahead and jump right into this episode of Doctor Who Classic. Here we go.
Obviously somewhere in the cosmos.
Oh, yeah. When they recolored.
I'm sure the Master knows.
The report on the Doomsday weapon is missing from our files. Only he could have taken it.
Then we can use the Doctor to deal with this problem.
What's the Time
Doctor
Lords?
resents his exile bitterly. Do you think he'll cooperate with us? I doubt it. We immobilized his TARDIS, took away his freedom to move in space and time.
Then we must restore his freedom. For as long as it serves our purpose.
Oh, maybe it's like a temporary mission.
I mean, it's just a sort of hobby, isn't it? Kind of game.
A game?
Well, what have you got in there anyway? Policeman?
Why not step inside and see for yourself?
Has she never been inside it?
I guess not. There wasn't a need.
Don't believe it. It's bigger inside than out.
Yes. That's because the TARDIS is dimensionally transcendental.
What does that mean?
It means that it's bigger inside than out.
Another dead end, and we...
Oh, now, it used to be much smoother than that.
No. Well, the Time Lords aren't as good as piloting it, I guess.
Doctor, come back at once.
All right, Doctor.
Don't stand there.
Joke's over.
Well, they finally reused the war machines.
I was about to say. Looks pretty similar.
Well, yeah. No, guess not.
Used to fade in.
It did.
do you realize how long I've been confined to one planet?
All that talk of yours about traveling in time and space, it was true.
Well, of course it was true. Before I was stranded on Earth, I spent all my time exploring new worlds and seeking the wonders of the universe.
But you don't know what's out there.
Then let's find out. Don't you want to set foot on another world?
Well, yes, I do, but I...
Good.
All right.
It was a very different reaction from a companion.
Filmed down on the south coast, no doubt.
No.
What's this? Can't tell if that's a suit of some kind or if that's supposed to be the alien.
I'll go over to Martin's Dome and have a look, just in case.
That mustache, though.
Very well.
They were examining rock samples. The mineralogists. It was bound to happen.
Look, we are not mineralogists. But even if we were,
Would that be
why all
mineralogist?
the hostility?
No.
It's a respectable profession.
Because we don't want our planet gutted.
Oh, no. Oh, man. She's gonna get all scuffed up.
You saw it, didn't you?
I'm sure Ash waved at you.
I think we were seeing things. You two better watch out. Could be doing it.
It's been so long since we've been to an alien world. I actually missed it.
It was all quite different when we left back in 71. You left in 1971? No, 2471.
Ah.
So they're 500 years in the future.
Yeah. Oh, I would not want to sleep on that thing.
Northern sector.
Just put me on the floor.
What's that?
I don't know. Must have been the wind.
Yeah, that's what the wind sounds like.
Combines do come.
Whoop. Yep.
It's a giant iguana.
Get on the radio.
Yep.
How long did you say you'd been on this planet? Just over a year. And you found no sign of these creatures then? There's no animal life, just a few birds and insects. Well, there is none.
Well, that's kind of animal life. And why aren't you eating the birds?
Vanished into the darkness. It could be daylight soon. Perhaps we should be able to pick up some
That
tracks or bloodstains.
lengthy mustache. I actually had one of those
Come and take a look
for
at these
one
on the
summer.
floor,
Oh,
Master.
goodness.
Oh, it was a horrible looking thing.
Oh, what about them?
They have a language of their own.
I've never heard them speak, but they seem to understand what I say.
Extraordinary. Must be some rudimentary telepathic ability. Are they friendly?
Depends on how you treat them. We had 2 colonists killed when we first moved here. You!
Well, thanks for the heads up about these guys. Completely forgot about this thing. Alrighty.
Talk about how did it get through the door. I mean, it must have been just
Well,
short enough and narrow enough to get through that door.
they definitely made that robot before they made that door. So, well, it is certainly an old school Doctor Who episode.
Yes. And I have to say, this time around, I mean, the sets are interesting. Kind of based on the geodesic dome. What I'm really liking is the costumes, because the costumes are very primitive. Leather and what appears to be burlap, or some very primitive sorts of clothing, which is better than when we would see, like in the past when they picked up Vicky. She's on that futuristic planet and everything's futuristic. This way, you basically have some people who have gone back to a very primitive life. It's again, it would be like people today heading out to the wilds of the middle of Wyoming or Montana or someplace like that, and just literally starting over with no modern kind of technology other than apparently the radio.
Yeah, so... And it's also interesting just the fact that this is slightly, but it is technically better than life on Earth. So...
Yeah, because they're talking about, you wouldn't even had your own room back on Earth, and here you've got your own dome to live in.
Yeah, you just have to deal with giant lizards. So there's
And
a
no
whole
props.
Yeah, so there's a whole thing of there's the giant lizards. There's also the other, like, I guess the native species, but I guess they're cool. See, for a while I figured they were just controlling the lizards or something, but I guess they're all right. And then the robots that I completely forgot about until the end there. So maybe they're controlling the lizards, or maybe the lizards are just It just happens they are a native species.
I get the impression that the lizards may not actually exist, that it may be sort of some kind of mind control illusion or something, because
Maybe.
they shot at it, and then, you got and again, his thing was, how did it get through the door, 20-foot lizard? But you notice the machine there at the end had these claws on the end of it. So maybe, again, somehow somebody is controlling people's minds and making them think there's a lizard there.
If the robot is doing like some holographic projection or something. Which would also make sense for why they went with the effect they did for the lizard, because it's just a green screen that they just enlarged a image of a lizard instead of actually taking the time to make a giant lizard with everything you need. So it could be that specifically.
And right there at the beginning, the Time Lords, something about a doomsday machine or doomsday device or something?
Yeah.
Doomsday weapon?
There's some sort of doomsday weapon that the Master stole. And so they've sent the Doctor to this planet, I think.
Okay, well.
Yeah.
Sure. Here we go.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing. Immediately, this does have to do with the Master, I think. Yeah. Unless he accidentally found this planet. But
it also makes me wonder, why didn't the Time Lords essentially appear to the Doctor like that one guy did in Terror of the Autons and say, Doctor, we need you to go to... I can't remember what he called the name of the planet.
It was something complicated.
Yeah.
So
Uxarius or something like that.
Yeah.
Instead, just send him there and let him figure it out for himself. That's not incredibly efficient.
The only thing I can think is because they did say, the Doctor, he doesn't really like us because of the exile and everything. So maybe they're thinking, well, if we go and ask for his help, he's going to refuse us outright. And so now, if we just drop him on this planet, even though he probably knows, he knows the Time Lords are behind, the TARDIS moving and everything, he'll think, well, okay, I am here for a reason, and I haven't been on another planet in so long. I might as well go look around. So I think it would be more that. So
yeah, just kind of a vacation for him.
Yeah.
Murder mystery vacation.
Yeah, pretty much.
With giant lizards.
And robots. And native species. Yes.
All right, let's do part 2.
I was also thinking, when it's like, oh, well, we came here to, raise crops what we can. It's like, did you not bring, like, a couple cows with you or something? Like, get some, like, look, I've played enough Minecraft to know. You get some cows in a fence, it all works out. So.
Well, we were just discussing in my Oklahoma history class this week that the last big expedition in Indian Territory before the Americans started moving in, of course the natives were already there, but they basically said there's enough wildlife, deer and the bison, and especially these things called feral hogs, basically, Pumbaa with an attitude. But they said because it takes time to establish herds, they could eat the native wildlife, until such time as they could get the herds together. So maybe they did bring the herds there, but because of the scarcity of crops, that the cattle or whatever didn't survive.
Yeah, I suppose it's possible. Plus, they said that they got a really cheap rocket, so it's entirely possible they couldn't afford to bring too much. So
I'm just also trying to figure out what's keeping the crops from growing. They said the crops come up, but then mysteriously die. So
yeah, so I'm wondering if maybe, with the beginning shot of the robot, like he was kind of examining the ground and stuff, I would almost imagine maybe this is from the mining companies they talked about. So maybe the mining companies are trying to sabotage the colonies so that they can just go in and just have carte blanche on this planet. Yeah. So it's possible.
May I ask what you're doing here?
IMC. Interplanetary Mining Corporation. We're doing a mineral survey.
How long have you been here?
We've just familiar.
Are you some kind of scientist?
I'm every kind of scientist.
No.
Now, if you'll excuse me.
I wonder what intern they have in that machine.
I love the geodesic dome. Although, again, looks bigger on the inside than the outside.
No. I'm so glad the Doctor has a car on this planet.
A bit like the moon rover.
You know, I'm sure someone's gonna say it, but if his beard was full, he'd look a lot like you.
I did have long, somewhat curly hair back in the, I guess would have been the mid-'80s. Again, one of these are the same quarries they've been using for the last 8 years.
Probably.
And again, notice it's not the, gleaming stuff of Star Trek. It's, again, a little more rustic, a little more lower key.
Well,
the computer predicts there's enough duralinium here to build 1 million living units on Earth.
Excellent.
The thing I can't understand is why this planet was assigned for colonization.
Does it matter?
where are you going to put these units?
Look.
Unless this is going to become like Ready Player One.
Look, make yourself at home. That's the entertainment console. I shan't be long.
With this entertainment console, you can play the latest PlayStation 105 games.
The colony shouldn't be here. My corporation has been assigned the mineral rights on this planet. Our preliminary survey indicates a very rich concentration of duralinium. You know how the Earth needs that mineral.
Earth or your corporation's profits?
What's good for IMC is good for Earth.
What's good for GMC is good for America.
People back on Earth.
Oh, good catch. Not a half bad fight scene. Nope. Oh, you missed.
Looking forward to this. After a year of living off roots, you don't know how good that looks.
Awfully healthy for a guy who's been living off roots for a year.
It's exactly like this.
By the time they find you, the monster will have claimed another victim. Keep back. Purely business, you understand. Nothing personal.
Alrighty.
Okay, so evil corporation versus
Well,
earnest farmers and somewhat innocent, although not defenseless, but creatures who will fight to save themselves. So interesting little kind of triangle setup here.
yeah.
And toss the doctor to Joe has been pretty much sidelined.
Yeah.
Back making stew at the main dome.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, maybe it takes a little time, but I mean, we still have four more episodes. Now, one thing. Oh, my laptop wasn't plugged in. Oh well. I was gonna look up the guy. Where's the internet? There's the internet. I was gonna look up the guy that played. Which one was it? Caldwell, I think.
Yeah.
Doctor Who. What was this called? Colony in Space.
Colony in Space.
Okay. No. He's just one of those actors that looks exactly like another actor. So, okay. I was wrong. Never mind. Okay, then.
Who did you think he looked like?
There's one of the characters on Life on Mars. I think DCI Frank Morgan. And that was in 2006. And I thought, well, maybe if he's older and stuff, but no. But he looks exactly like him. Yeah. It's almost the exact same hair, face, and mustache even. Yeah. So, but no, that's completely different. Oh well. Anyway, but yeah, a very interesting sort of. This also slightly reminds me of what was it, the Sensorites, where they were trying to get the one mineral from there. Yeah. So definitely, it's still a little
molybdenum.
Yes.
Let's not go back to that.
Yeah. It's still a little odd though that like I understand. Okay, yes, this is a very classic Doctor Who episode, I'm still not entirely sure why the Time Lord sent the Doctor here. It's like, yes, we have the whole thing of, well, there's the Master, and he had the Doomsday Machine or something, but it's like, is it here? Does he need the thing? I mean, we don't know because we haven't even seen the Master yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But now, again, without the Master and without the Doomsday device or whatever it is, again, it's not your standard base under siege sort of thing, because although you've got the obvious bad guy corporation and the obvious good guy colonists, you got the weird colonist who appears to be in league with the corporation, perhaps. But then you got the corporation guy who says, we shouldn't be doing this, this is wrong, and he's kind of sympathetic to the colonists. And then, again, you got the Doctor, and again, Joe is totally useless in this so far. Didn't want to come here in the first place, and then get stuck, literally just making stew for everybody.
Yeah.
So,
I'm
enjoying the generalized story, and whether or not the Master shows up or not doesn't seem to matter to me, because it seems to be superfluous to the story.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing with Joe, it honestly does seem like something like, when Jamie and Zoe would be sort of silent, like, all right, they're going to stay with the colonists, and the Doctor goes and does something until eventually... I think it's just that, we haven't had that in so long, so immediately it's like, all right, Joe's got to cook dinner, all right, well, let's see if she does something later. I think it would have also been very interesting if he brought the Brigadier as well, like, just to see how the Brigadier would, like, work on an alien planet, so... but I don't think we're going to get something like that.
But I guess it continues to bother me that Joe is set up as a unit member, which I'm assuming means she has unit training.
Yeah.
But she's never been... I mean, she's literally used as a secretary. When she gets there, she's obviously in, a 1972 mini skirt and sweater. So give her some warm clothing, let her get out and do something.
Yeah. So, of course, we do know that if Liz was still here, we would hate it even more that she would have been sidelined. Yeah. So yeah, it's quite the conundrum of the companion, I suppose. So. Ooh. Good job.
All you have to do is get in between the arms. It can't fold them against you.
Yeah.
Because they're all rigid.
You realize this planet has been assigned for colonization?
No, not according to my company. We've been assigned full mineral rights.
Then your people must have made a mistake.
Or yours. In any event, we're both here.
Dent almost looks like Ian McKellen.
I'll know all about that. It takes years to reach a decision, and by then you've chewed up the entire planet.
I'm sure you agree we must apply the proper procedures.
Well, yes, I suppose. Procedures, nothing, Robin.
We'll see. Now she's doing something.
She was caught attempting to rob this spaceship.
You've got no right to hold her up.
With interplanetary law, she's committed a capital offense.
Robbery is a capital offense?
All right.
I guess.
You won.
Yeah, aim.
It's all right. They've gone.
Ah, the worm turns.
All right.
Confirm an adjudicator is in your present galactic sector and is now on his way. Message ends.
Message from Earth Control.
Still using magnetic tape for their messages.
No.
Excuse me. What's
Taught him some kung fu.
Shouldn't he have a spear in him?
No.
Unless they took it back, I guess.
Don't want to waste a perfectly good spear.
Oh, I'm not wearing a miniskirt. Suddenly appears that she has pants on. I don't remember seeing that earlier.
That door wasn't as smooth as they thought it would be.
But that's an interesting outdoor set.
Well.
true cliffhanger.
You know, they go through this whole thing about, like, oh, well, if there were colonists on this planet, we can't be here, or we have to get rid of the colonists in order to do all this mining. There is a native species here. Like, because they've said, like, oh, well, you know, there's no animals or anything like that, but it's like, well, no. There's still one alien species there. Like, if this was Star Trek, there'd be a whole episode about Picard debating the ethics about this.
Yes.
So.
The Prime Directive.
Yeah, so.
Well, I'm guessing they're assuming that since the primitives don't seem to be able to communicate, that, you know, if they were to wipe them out, there would be no problem with that. But they haven't really said that yet. No. Yeah, they're not taking into account that there's an indigenous species here.
Maybe their logic is, well, they can't communicate, so they can't say no. They can't say yes either, but they can't say no, and that's the important thing, which means we can come in. Okay. Well, that's the first 3 parts of Colony in Space. Interesting stuff so far.
Yeah. Now, and again, this is very minor, but there's no point in calling it Colony in Space. You know, the wheel in space, I understand it was actually a wheel in space, but this is not specifically in space. It's you know, it's just I mean, there's so many other things they could have called it, but yes, it's so far it's a very compelling story.
Yeah.
You know, you've got the you know, horrible mining company, you got the colonists, you got the indigenous species, and then you got, you know, traders on both sides. You got Norton and Caldwell, who are working at opposite points.
Yeah.
And then again tossing in the Doctor and finally getting Joe to do something. So I'm interested to see where this goes.
And all of this with the initial setup that it has to have something to do with the Master, because that's why the Time Lord sent the Doctor here.
Yeah.
So, like, if this was just a, you know, oh, well, the Doctor, he accidentally got the TARDIS to work just enough to get over to here, but it is something specific that the Master is doing on this planet with whatever doomsday machine or whatever it is. So,
and I know this is going to sound weird, this is too much of a theatrical reference, but we're literally doing a Waiting for Godot, because isn't somebody supposed to be showing up very shortly to settle all of this? They're all waiting on the adjudicator.
Ah. That could be how he shows up.
It's just, you know, I kept thinking, why do they keep mentioning this guy? You know, it's
like
that they set him up in episode 2, and they've mentioned him like 3 or 4 times here in episode 3, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, like, for that kind of character, like, even if it was just an actual adjudicator, like, you would have thought he would have showed up by now. Like, they reference him first, and then it's like, because he has to be the one to settle this dispute between the colonists and the miners.
And they said he's in the sector, he'll be there shortly.
Yeah, they're kind of building him up more and more, so that could be it, that the adjudicator is actually the Master.
But we still don't have any idea what this doomsday weapon is, because there's been nothing here so far, other than, you know, duralinium, which seems to be a building material. I mean, it's not an energy source or anything, so I'm not exactly sure where the doomsday weapon or doomsday device or whatever it is that they said it was, I don't see where that fits in yet.
Yeah, unless it's like, I don't know. I mean, it must be that this mineral is useful to the doomsday machine or something, and then that would be, you know, the Master sends ICM to this planet in order to get it, and now him as the adjudicator will vote in favor of them in order to get this stuff. But why this stuff would be necessary for the doomsday machine, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, again, because they're not setting it up as an energy source. It's just, I mean, seriously, they're literally saying it's like a building material. It's like, you know, we need steel so that we can build, you know, 500-story high-rise buildings for people to live in.
Yeah.
But there's been nothing whatsoever to set up any kind of source of power that would be destructive, let alone constructive.
Unless it's that he needs to build the doomsday machine out of this material. Like, maybe this doomsday machine normally is unstable, and you have to get a special kind of thing that will hold up. So, it could be something like that. I mean, and then I guess it would make sense he would have to get a or even if he could do it himself, this is the Master, he probably would still find underlings and stuff. So,
are these the first 3 episodes of this season where the Master hasn't been in? Because he was he was in Autons.
Yeah, like he kind of shows up sometimes, like 1 or 2 episodes into the story, but yeah, definitely. I mean, 3 episodes, and we're halfway through this this story, and we still haven't seen the Master. He's only been referenced. But I mean, we've also gone 2 episodes without the Brigadier. So, and no Yates, no Benton. It was really just like all right, all the unit people, you get some time off. We just need a quick cameo by the Brigadier at the beginning, and then we'll go do something else, basically. So it's entirely possible that maybe this is also time off for Roger Delgado before he comes back into this.
But again, aren't they just doing like 26 episodes?
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess because I mean they kind of do that like with TV shows nowadays, where like like this character on Supergirl is gone. I mean, where we're currently watching in Supergirl, like most of the cast was gone in like the last 2 episodes we watched. Yeah. So it really was just focused on 2 characters. So it could be something similar here. It's like, we've got all our other new characters and stuff like that, but for the most part, it's just the Doctor and Joe Grant. Yeah. And eventually we'll probably bring in the Master. So well, the first thing I wrote down was probation by the Time Lords, which I do remember that from like when we watched, what was it called, Curse of Peladon. People in the comments like clarified that the Time Lords specifically allowed the Doctor and Joe to go to Peladon. So it wasn't that the Doctor fixed the TARDIS, it's just that they allowed him to travel. And it is sort of the same thing here, but specifically because of the Master. It kind of seems like the Doctor has been exiled and trapped on Earth right at the worst moment, because now the Master is out and about doing stuff and the Time Lords need to stop him. They're not going to stop him themselves, so they have to send the Doctor. So, but that was interesting. That was also, I feel like, the first time we've seen sort of the modern or the newer Time Lord garb and everything. Because I think they were just in regular robes in like the war games and stuff. But I mean, it did cut back to Gallifrey and everything. Yeah.
Without mentioning Gallifrey.
Yeah, it will definitely be a while before they mention the name Gallifrey. So yeah, I mean, it is just very strange though. Like we've kind of gotten in a rhythm with these episodes, especially in this season, where something big is happening and the Master is involved. Whether it's we have to deal with the Autons and this plastic factory and stuff like that, or what came after that? What was episode 2? Was the Mind of Evil, wasn't it?
I thought there was something between Autons and Evil.
I don't remember per se. I think because this is the 4th one. I think it was just the Mind. Yeah, it was Terror of the Autons, then the Mind of Evil, and then Claws of Axos, and now we're here. So yeah, so we have the peace conference and the Master, which also had the prison and stuff, and then we had this big thing with this first contact with the Axos, and also the Master. So going back to a more traditional, the Doctor and his companion land on this planet, and they go and figure out some stuff, and there's this conflict here that the Doctor has to resolve and stuff. That's so classic. We haven't done that in so long.
It's refreshing.
And also the Master is still here.
Yeah. We're assuming, because they set it up in episode 1.
Yeah, I'm assuming at some point the Master will show up.
Yeah, let's hope it's not like episode 6. It's like coming right at the end.
He finally shows up at the end, like, finally the Adjudicator is here. Like, maybe that's like the penultimate like cliffhanger there, maybe. And also Joe got to go to another world, which is which is pretty nice. She hadn't done that before.
Now, what's really odd is all this time, she's thought the Doctor wasn't telling the truth about being a time traveler and space traveler.
I mean, I guess it's more of... It was just so difficult to believe, you know?
But I would have sworn she was inside the TARDIS before.
I don't think so.
Oh.
No, I don't
Was it just
think...
the Master that went in to...
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't even think the Brigadier's been inside the TARDIS, so... So yeah, I mean, the Brigadier, he only... I mean, to be fair, for the Brigadier, it's only that he's met the Doctor and Jamie and Zoe twice, you know, and that was, you know, split apart by years, but at the same time, you know, it's, to him, it's just, oh, here he is, he showed up again. Whereas, Joe, it's really just like, oh, well, he, you know, he knows all this stuff and, you know, can fight these aliens, but she just hasn't seen, you know, the inside of the TARDIS.
But all those times that he's gone inside, and that one time, you know, the smoke came billowing out, they can't think that it's a machine that's just the size of a police box. So, I mean, it's just that it strains credulity just a little bit there.
Yeah. I mean, it's the old classic Santa Claus seeing is believing, you know? Yeah. Now that she's actually gone in and seen the whole thing. Yeah, because even, like, with Liz, you know, we had that one episode, we were like, oh, well, she's just in the TARDIS. And it's like, no, he took the TARDIS console out and stuff like that. But even then, it was just the TARDIS console, and they just thought, like, oh, okay, so... I guess they must have thought, well, it must be bigger on the inside. They just didn't see how big it was. So, but yeah, we got Joe going to a new world, being very hesitant about it, though. More hesitant than probably any companion we've had, so.
And after this, I would like for you to go back to the first episode, because I swear she was not wearing pants. You know, it struck me as odd that she's got this very 70s outfit on, but I thought she was still wearing like a skirt and boots.
Let's see.
Doctor, why don't you give up? You've been working on that thing for simply ages.
Oh, I can't give up, Joe. It's far too important.
Still at it, Doctor?
Why don't you start?
The latest field reports are in. Still no trace of
Maybe
Master.
fast forward till they go in the...
Yeah. Let's see.
What happened last time? The material. Oh.
Okay.
Why not step inside and see for yourself?
No, I guess she is wearing pants. My mistake.
I think it's because she has a very long shirt.
Yeah.
So, and she's got a belt halfway over her shirt, so that could be it.
Yeah.
And yes, it is a bit strange to pick up on specific clothing choices, but I mean, there are times when I watch a show and I'm like, that guy's not wearing socks. And every time, it's the weirdest thing for me to notice, but I notice stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, anywho. Let's see. So we have the whole thing with the miners and the problem with the crops. We still don't know what the problem with the crops is, though.
No. There's no radiation. The Doctor would have detected that when he first said the atmosphere was okay.
Yeah.
But he does know that there's something that's preventing the crops. He just doesn't know what yet. So it might be something to do now with the indigenous species.
It could be.
And yet they're begging for food from the colonists.
Yeah, the only thing I could think is maybe it's ICM. Like somehow maybe they've injected something into the soil so that crops can't grow, and that's why the natives are trying to get food because they can't grow their stuff anymore.
But that would assume that ICM had been there before the colonists, because or that had arrived shortly afterwards. But how do they keep themselves hidden for all that time? Because the colonists have been there for a year, they said, at least.
Yeah, that's true. So
I'm glad to see you're not the only one who yawns. Whenever we're doing this, and I am particularly tired from a long week at school or something, I try to hide it. So you're talking, and I will, turn away and try to yawn the other way. But yeah, every now and then, when we do these on Saturday afternoon, and it's just, if it's been a long week, it's, Okay. I mean, I enjoy watching it, but yeah, we are sometimes getting tired.
Yeah, definitely. So, and I try to like space out recordings too, but I mean like, people know that like the last show that I film in the week, I am exhausted. Which currently, it used to be like I'd switch back and forth between Prison Break and Mr. Robot, but now, the last thing I'm recording is Better Call Saul. And Better Call Saul, it's a good show, a bit of a slow burn though. So I'm kind of sitting here like, okay, try to power through this. I know my voice is dead because I've been yelling about other shows all day and stuff. So, even on like Monday, first filming day of the week, and you know, once you get to like the last video of the day, it's like, man, I've been yelling at cartoons all day. I am exhausted.
Now, did I see that there's a My Hero Academia movie out?
Yes, the third movie is out.
Oh, okay.
And I have reacted to the other two movies, as well as most of My Hero Academia as well, if you want to go check those out. So,
accidental shameless plug.
Exactly. So,
where were we?
Well, it's 2472.
Okay.
So, not only have we gone to space, we are also in the future too, which is just nice. It's nice to get away from, well, 1972. So, or although I think this is still technically airing in 1971. So maybe that's part of that's the first piece of the theory that this unit stuff actually takes place later than 1971. So, it's entirely possible, but
again, I like the fact that they didn't go the Star Trek sleek stainless steel and everything.
Yeah.
The uniforms, the ICM uniforms, or IMC, what is it? International?
It's ICM, I think.
ICM, yeah, International something of Mining.
Yeah.
But yeah, the uniforms are not too bad. The bubble helmets always bother me. But yeah, as I said in the first episode, I really enjoy looking at the very primitive costumes of the colonists, because that's exactly what would have happened. They would have gotten there and they would have just made clothing out of whatever they could, because they wouldn't have been able to bring great stuff with them from Earth. They got a used spaceship, went down to the secondhand spaceship lot, and seriously, what's really funny about that is, and most people don't know this, that's exactly what Columbus did. Most people don't know. They think the Nina and the Pinta and the Santa Maria were all brand new. They weren't. Ferdinand and Isabella gave him some money, but being cheap guy that he was, he literally went down to a used ship lot and took the three best that he could get, but they were not brand new ships that he sailed to the New World on.
Huh. Interesting. Well, because I would kind of think, because that was like his like 18th like person to go to or something.
Yeah.
It's like it took him a while before someone finally told him yes. So that's interesting. He didn't, finally it's like, oh, yes, finally someone approves. I'm going to go get the best ships and get out of here. It's like, all right, I'm a cheapskate. We are going to do this with very little money.
Yeah. Well, again, that's one of those great stories. He originally, if I recall correctly, went to the government of Genoa, which was his hometown, and they literally laughed at him. They said, you can't go that way, because again, at the time, nobody knew that there was a continent in the way, and they said you simply won't be able to get across that giant ocean because you won't be able to keep enough supplies. But he went to the King of France. He went to King Henry VII of England, if I recall correctly, and they all turned him down. And he just happened to catch Ferdinand and Isabella at the exact right moment. In February of 1492, they had driven the Moors out and had taken over all of that property that the Muslims had kept for like 700 years, and they literally had more money than they knew what to do with. So here comes Columbus going, could I have a couple of bucks to go buy a couple of ships? They went, yeah, take a couple of wheelbarrows full of cash and go to it. You get half and we get half, or whatever like that. So he was very fortunate that they gave in and said, here, take some cash and go to it.
Yeah. So it also slightly reminds, and we'll get off this tangent in a sec, but it also slightly reminds me of the Grand Tour and Top Gear, where they literally go buy like whatever used car they can, and then it's like, all right, let's go across Bolivia in these horrible cars that are losing brakes and everything. So yeah. Anywho,
come for Doctor Who, stay for
Columbus and
friendly neighborhood history lesson.
Yeah. So Of course, I guess, if he's saving all that money on ships, that means more money for supplies and stuff. So that's not a half bad idea.
But and that's the other thing. The Santa Maria, which was the largest of the three ships, as a caravel, it was still not very big. I mean, top capacity for crew on a ship like the Santa Maria would have probably been right around 100. And the Nina probably had a crew of only about 40 or 50. So, I mean, he was really, really cramped. And he had this, crazy idea that it was only, I think, he only thought it was about 3,000 miles when it was more like 9,000 miles. So if he hadn't bumped into the islands there in the Caribbean, we would have never heard from him again. They all would have died.
Yeah. So, and it would just be Leif Erikson Day and not Columbus Day. So, I do want to see, how much did, Leif Erikson get when he had, he probably had a boat and just some guys at the oars, so.
Well, here's the thing. They knew that there was land west of Greenland. They just didn't know how big it was.
Yeah.
Because the Vikings had been fishing off of the coast there, probably for 15, 20 years before Leif Erikson said, you know what, I'll go and see what's there. Made it all the way down to where Labrador and Newfoundland are today, set up the colony, which lasted about 25 years, but couldn't make a go of it. They simply weren't able to make any kind of money off of it. It wasn't being profitable, so they just picked up and pulled out and went back to first to Greenland and then back to Iceland.
Yeah. And to their credit, they took the better route.
Yeah.
You keep to the land that's there, and then eventually, instead of going straight for 9,000 miles and stuff.
Now, again, sorry for the history lesson here. About 8 or 9 years after Erikson landed there in Canada, there was a voyage which basically started from Greenland, stopped off at Vinland, and then was supposed to continue south. There were 4 ships. 3 of them developed problems. They were leaking, and old ships, they turned back. But one last ship completely disappeared, and they, of course, just assumed that it had sunk with all people on board. But in the 1830s, and because we've been there, in far eastern Oklahoma, the Choctaw tribe, who had been removed from Mississippi and brought here to eastern Oklahoma, found something scrawled on the side of a rock. And they called in the Army, and the Army had no idea what it was. They didn't recognize it. And it took nearly 100 years before somebody came along and said, that's Viking writing. And so the theory was that this lost ship may have actually made it all the way around Florida, came up the Mississippi, came up the Arkansas River, and then somehow landed just outside of what is now the town of Heavener, Oklahoma, and scrawled a date, which we now call the Heavener runestone. But yeah, it's highly unlikely that the Vikings actually made it to Oklahoma. Yeah. But that's the theory behind the Heavener runestone.
Yeah. So.
Anyway.
So we're in the future and we're watching Doctor Who. So, although who knows, maybe there'll be an episode about that someday. So,
Doctor Who and the Vikings. We kind of had that with the meddling monk.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think if there was ever a modern episode about that.
But Doctor Who, landing with Leif Erikson there on the coast of Canada, and that would be interesting.
Wasn't there an episode of Legends where they found the Vikings?
Yeah, I think that's not the one with the giant toy, was it?
Yeah, I think that's where they introduced Bebo, and then Damien Dark showed up as Odin or something, I think. So, yeah. So if Doctor Who ever does a Viking episode, it's probably not going to be that goofy, but...
Let's hope not.
Although, it's Doctor Who. There'll be some amount of goof, but not that much. So.
But, seriously, so many things. The Battle of Hastings, bringing the Scandinavians over, and then bringing, William the Conqueror. The Viking culture is so rich that it begs for something here in Doctor Who.
Yeah, so let's see. Well, we had the lizards, but you definitely called that the lizards was faked. So it's all down to that machine, which again, 70s, that's all nice and good and stuff, but it's like when that machine comes in, it's like, yeah, you can easily, even if you don't need to just get in the middle, just like grab it. It's not, I mean, it doesn't look that strong. It looks like you could easily just sort of grab the hand and then just get away from there. It doesn't look like it has good mobility, but we don't want to spoil the illusion. It's a dangerous machine. So, and to be fair, I guess it was more, what was it, Morgan, who killed the two colonists, and then he used the machine to sort of cover his tracks.
Yeah.
So, although they did say, because he tried to shoot the doctor, and the doctor said, well, they're going to realize that there's a bullet hole in me, and it's not, no lizard shot me. So that must mean he didn't shoot the two colonists. So the machine must have done that.
Unless he didn't think about that, and the doctor said, but I'll make sure that, they will. I don't know how we would make sure other than regenerating, but anyway. But if the two colonists were, pretty shredded up, nobody would have thought to look for a bullet hole.
I do still kind of want that one time where you just start a story, and in the middle of the story, the doctor does get shot and regenerates, and then you just continue from there with that new doctor. Yeah. Especially in the modern era, nobody would like that. There would not be a send-off for that doctor, but I want them to do that once.
Well, they did that in the movie. Remember
they did, where
McCoy, wasn't it?
Yeah, Sylvester McCoy. It was kind of unceremonious. I mean, it was good that he came back at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was sort of an unceremonious transition to the Eighth Doctor. But I don't know. I don't think they could get away with that though. Especially in the modern era. In the modern era, we've talked about the Doctor's not getting amazing send-offs and stuff. They get so huge send-offs, like it's all like tear jerking and everything. So and then it's a whole big light show when they finally do regenerate. So I don't think they could get away with that, but it'd be hilarious if they did. So,
by the way, again, give me 15 seconds here. I was thinking today, I got to thinking about Christmas Carol because it's time that we would normally start rehearsals if we were doing that. I think Peter Capaldi would make a very interesting Ebenezer Scrooge.
Yeah.
Because he's got the kind of sense of humor that I think Scrooge has, where he could play not only the man appears to be very serious, but also the man who is delightfully weird and has all of these different things and all the different kind of humor that I think Scrooge has, and I think he could play that very well.
Yeah.
So have your agent contact me.
Yeah, definitely. So, there was an episode, one of the Christmas specials in the modern era was literally just titled A Christmas Carol. And it was a futuristic, it's not Ebenezer Scrooge, it's this guy, it's this other guy instead. But it was basically like, okay, well, we got to show him his past and his present and stuff like that. And the doctor's like, I have a great idea because I'm a time traveler. I'll go back in time and do all the things that the ghosts would do. So, I think that was a Matt Smith episode too. So, but yeah, Capaldi would definitely make a good Ebenezer Scrooge.
Yeah.
And now, you bring up specifically like, oh, well, we would start rehearsals now. We do say that because we're currently filming this on October 30th. So, to us, technically, now the corporate America says otherwise, but it's not the Christmas season yet. But by the time this episode goes out, it will be November, which means Merry Christmas to you all.
I've done about a dozen different productions of Christmas Carol. We always opened right around Thanksgiving, which is usually the last week or so of November, 4th Thursday. And then we do like the 3 weeks leading up to Christmas. So yeah, I realize Halloween is tomorrow night, but I'm already thinking in Christmas mode not because I'm buying presents and stuff like that, but it's this time. It's like, shouldn't I be rehearsing Christmas Carol by this time? So.
Yeah, I mean it's basically. To be fair, it's the holiday season from October 1st to January 1st. Is just the holiday season. And you try to lump 4 holidays together, and they all sort of get overshadowed by Christmas anyway, so...
And it'll be past by the time this goes up, but Happy Guy Fawkes Day.
Yes, that too. So
penny for the guy.
Let's see. Let's see. We talked about the servo robots, these big clunky things.
It would have been cool if the hands could rotate or the fingers could have done, but when it's just doing this, it's,
yeah.
I mean, and I understand that's the budget, but yeah, the less that they had showed of that, the better it would have been.
Yeah, I guess they spent the budget on, well, I mean, the sets and everything. You had to build all new sets. You can't rely on those, normal, like, yes, here's a normal military barracks that we can put anywhere, basically, or the brigadier's office, or whichever brigadier's office, he assimilates in the story. But I guess maybe part of the budget also goes into the natives and their melting faces, but it's not the greatest native design, but it's all right.
Yeah.
So, I like that they are sort of their own separate part of this. Like, like we have, the colonists and, the ICM and their butting heads. I like that there is just sort of this extra, like, faction of the natives that they're sometimes on their side, sometimes they're not on their side. They're not really on ICM's side at all. They're just sort of there. And maybe they helped Joe. I mean, they at least got Joe away from that ICM guy.
Yeah, I suspect in episode 4 we're going to see a little bit more about the natives there, because they do have Joe.
Yeah. I was almost thinking maybe it'd be hilarious if the natives were working for the Master for some reason. Like, he doesn't go for the colonists or ICM. He's playing both of them by controlling the natives somehow.
I would like to see them take off what appears to be a helmet, and they're actually more humanoid. But
yeah.
I don't suspect they're going to do that.
Yeah, they take off the helmet and it's like, oh, finally we can speak. Anyway, let's see, what else do we got?
I'm surprised we have anything left.
I know, yeah. I mean, it's one of those where I was like, oh man, I didn't take down a ton of notes, so I hope we have enough to talk about. And then we go on like a 10-minute tangent about Columbus and Leif Erikson and stuff, and Halloween. And speaking...
Why do people watch us?
I don't know. I mean, there are other reactions to classic Doctor Who on YouTube, but I don't think those reactors talk about the same things that we talk about, so... I think in that respect we are a bit unique from them. So, although I don't know, I haven't checked out many other Classic Who reactions. Maybe they do talk about this stuff. So, I did also just remember, because we're coming up on Halloween, that the next season of Modern Doctor Who is about to start up, and it is starting up with a specific Halloween episode. Which I don't think they've ever done a Halloween episode somehow.
Well, I've been watching. Apparently, AMC Plus here in the States is doing that.
Yeah,
and it's a six episode season or something like that.
Yes, they had to shorten it because of COVID. So basically, essentially, they're doing a serialized season because it's one story told over 6 episodes, and with the length of each episode, it kind of just comes out to like a 12-part classic Doctor Who episode. So yeah, stay tuned for. Well, by the time this goes up, that reaction's probably already out for the first episode of that. But I will be reacting to that as close to live as possible. And by as close to live, I mean if it airs on Sunday, expect it that Saturday. So that's about the best turnaround time I can do. So, I guess we kind of already talked about the rest of the stuff. Caldwell, Morgan, Dent, Norton was an interesting twist that he's actually working. So I guess there just wasn't another colony, and he was just sent in to...
Yeah. Again, he said he had been living on Roots for a year. He was pretty healthy looking. You'd expect they would have hired a guy who was a lot thinner to do that if he had been surviving for more than a year.
Well, he also said, though, that like he had been wandering for months. But where was he getting these roots? Like, you'd think they would be like, what roots? We would love to have roots. Yeah. We don't have that. So, like, you would think one of them would think, like, wait, your story's not really adding up here.
Yeah.
So, and then, the last thing I wrote down was the Adjudicator, who, that's a pretty good idea that would be the Master, because he's trying to get this... neutron beryllium, whatever it was, or something.
Duralinium, I think.
Duralinium, yeah. So, he's trying to get this for the Doomsday Machine that he stole from the Time Lords, or something.
I have no idea.
It sounds like a classic convoluted master plan, so...
And here's the thing. if he's not the adjudicator, he doesn't really seem to fit in anywhere here.
Yeah, if he just shows up, that's going to be weird. So, yeah, he might be the adjudicator. Unless, at some point, Dent, takes off his face and it is him. He's just been there the whole time. So, that'd be a really funny twist if that was the case.
Dent is way taller than Roger Delgado, though, I think.
Yeah, so... he's probably just going to be the adjudicator. So, but we'll have to see next time. When we finish off Colony in Space. I keep forgetting what this episode is called. So,
I think it just should have been The Colony.
Yeah, something like that. I guess maybe they put The Colony in Space so that people would be excited that the Doctor's going back to space. So, I don't know. You got anything else?
I got nothing.
Probably for the best, because we are now at the 2-hour mark of this recording.
Dear, sorry.
For a 3 episode recording, and we just kept talking.
So, he'll edit it. That's what he's good at.
Yes. Oh, I mean, we're not editing the discussion that much, but so yeah. But that is basically it. With all that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist for all of our Doctor Who classic reactions, as well as a playlist for all my modern Doctor Who reactions, which season 13 is currently going if you want to catch up with those. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.